Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Hello and welcome back to the Psych Legal Pop Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Tess Brigham. I'm the therapist.
And I'm Brooke Brigham. I'm the attorney.
And today we are talking about the new Netflix 3-part series called Evil Influencer, the Jodi Hildebrandt story. And we were debating whether or not it was Hildebrand or Hildebrandt. We don't know if that T is silent or not. But so I'm going to read a quick synopsis of what this is about. This is, I think it was number 1 for a while, and I think now it's number 2. So many people know about it. So Evil Influencer, the Jodi Hildebrandt story is a true crime documentary on Netflix that examines the disturbing real-life case of Jodi Hildebrandt, a Utah therapist and self-styled life coach whose partnership with parenting YouTuber Ruby Franke culminated in a shocking child abuse scandal. The film focuses on Hildebrandt, once respected in certain communities for her counseling and religious guidance, built influence, drew in followers, including Franke, and ultimately exerted psychological control that led to sustained abuse of children. It unravels the events leading up to the 2023 arrest of both women after one of Franke's youngest children escaped their Utah home and sought help. This documentary shifts the spotlight primarily onto Hildebrandt, her rise, her influence, her methods, and her role in the abuse, rather than centering solely on Franke. Through interviews, police insights, and archival material, it lays out the disturbing timeline of manipulation and harm. Okay. So high level, what did you think of this documentary?
Well, I mean, it's hard to watch.
Yeah.
It's just, you're trying to find some reason, like some underlying, like, why did this woman do this? I guess I felt a little bit unsatisfied about, they talk about her upbringing and her history and whatever, but it just didn't feel, it's like, okay, well, how did she get from A to B? Like, how did we get here? How did she become this evil and manipulative? And
yeah.
So I don't know
and I think
how great of a job they did at explaining that.
Yeah. I appreciate, the one thing I really appreciate, because we both debated whether or not we even want to do this. We haven't done any of the other Ruby Franke stories just because it's so horrific and it's not something that you're excited to watch. But I was interested because of the therapeutic piece of it and her being a therapist and life coach, just like myself. But I appreciated that it was hard, some parts were hard to watch, but for the most part, I thought it was like digestible. Do you know what I mean? Like some of these documentaries are just, it's relentless. And I felt like, okay, we just got enough to get a sense of it and not so much that it becomes salacious. Yes. And I think that throughout the documentary, they do, I think the thing is, no one really does understand and knows what's going on with Jodi. Or if someone did, they weren't willing to talk. It seemed like they got her other colleagues and friends to kind of, this is what I saw and this is my 2 cents. And, this is what I think. I mean, it was a lot of people throwing out theories of what they think happened and what led to these things.
Well, they also tried to weave in, like concepts of the Mormon religion.
Yeah.
And like at one point they talk about how Utah is kind of a hotbed for influencer culture, which we have seen.
Yes, yes.
A lot of Mormon women are becoming influencers, and part of it is because, that's the whole Mormon way, is spreading the gospel to others. Their whole, and that's why they're really good at MLMs. And, they seriously, they thrive because they're in these large communities of people, and, they're trained early on, that if you go on a mission, I mean, that's what you're trained to, like recruit people and
sales.
So sales. Yeah. So it's kind of a sales focused culture. And, the focus is on the family and especially the mother. And so, like Real Lives of Mormon Wives is a perfect example of all of this. And, Jodi got Frankie's followers, to come over to her. And maybe that was what she was attracted to with Ruby, that, she has this big following and I want to be part of that. I want to get those people to follow me, because she had her own thing going on with this,
which makes
connections
sense,
or whatever it was called.
And that isn't that crazy. I mean, listen, you go on somebody else's podcast with a larger audience because you want a larger audience to hear you. You go on a show, or you know what I mean? Like, that's kind of how it works. The problem is, and I don't feel like this was talked about enough, was just how completely unethical, completely like, everything. So there isn't a law that says you cannot treat, when you treat someone, you can't treat anyone else in their family. But what she was doing was she was treating the husband, she was treating the wife, she was treating the kids, she was treating them as a couple. And that's the thing. If I work with a couple, they have different individual therapists if that's what they want. And if I have an individual client, they have a different couples counselor. Like, it's because the couples counselor, their job is to counsel the couple. My job is to counsel the person that's in front of me, my client. So, and technically, you're really then to work with the kids. Like, yes, there's family and there's family work to be done, but I don't think that's what she wasn't doing that. So that's really shady and kind of, and then she becomes friends with her. You cannot become friends with your clients.
But
you
Tess,
cannot.
She was a real therapist. I mean,
well, she was a real therapist because it got her license got suspended.
I know. She's a licensed therapist, but was she acting like one?
No,
never.
No,
not from day one. She just did her own thing. She got licensed, so she has the license. She has this credential, and then she just went out and she did whatever the fuck she wanted to.
Exactly.
And just wreaked havoc on people. And, really focused in on this family, Ruby Franke's family. And I forget how did they even hook up with her? How did they even find each other?
Yeah, that wasn't explained because there's some pieces of this documentary that they kind of go by really quickly. So it was it's like one line in there, and I remember it. I think it was one of those things where, maybe Ruby was looking for help, and Jodi was on the approved list of therapists that you could go to that are part of the Mormon Church.
She was having trouble with like some of her teens or something.
Yeah. And she was having issues. And so I think that she went to the church or the elders. They said, okay, Jodi becomes their therapist or their family therapist. So, but I'm with you. She never acted like a therapist, but I do think that, part of becoming a lawyer is you have to pass some kind of ethical test, right? You have to take like an ethics exam or an ethics, don't they ask you ethical questions to see how you're going to respond to make sure that you are in the right mind to be an attorney? Am I wrong about that?
Well, it's not a test. What you have to fill out it's this huge long form where they ask you, have you ever been, arrested? Have you ever been convicted? Have you ever been in a lawsuit? If so, what was it about? They probe like all of the different areas of your life to see if you, what your background is. And then they either approve or deny it. Like I know people who have been denied, because they had a recent DUI or something where they didn't, it doesn't exclude you. Like if you've gone to, you get a DUI, you go to AA, get sober, whatever. But it's not, so it's that they look at that and then they ask questions on the bar exam about ethical rules that you learn about. But you can hide in plain sight. You know what I mean? Like you could have a clean record, never been convicted of anything, or there's no record of you doing anything. And you could be a complete psychopath, and you could get licensed, and same with the therapy. I mean,
that's what I was trying to say.
It's like, unless people can't get inside your head and, figure out what are the things you're thinking about, or, what you might possibly be capable of doing. Cause to fill people in, I mean, if you haven't seen this and you don't know the story, basically, Jodi got Ruby and her whole family kind of, in her grips. And then at certain points, people got away from her. But in the end, she basically instructed Ruby to torture her children. And so this is a therapist, I mean, I don't know who was doing the abuse, if it was both of them.
I think it was both of them.
Okay. So she took a mom who, prior to this, I don't think had any history of this. I mean,
I think that prior to this, her history was that she was maybe, again, I never watched the YouTube show. I had never heard of these people until this whole scandal came about. So I think that she was a tough parent, maybe a little bit tougher. You would see clips of that, of, strict, and, you forget your lunch, I'm not going to come bring it to you. And the law enforcement said that many times. They said none of this was reportable. None of it was, it might be questionable of, is that good parenting, but none of it was illegal. But not until we got to this point. My point about the whole ethics thing is I've often thought, I think it would be good. I think more professions need, and I think they need check-ins. Like every couple of years, to go on a reality show, they're going to do some personality tests and check you out. I don't know. I just feel like maybe sitting down and saying, do you think it's okay to sleep with your clients, and see how people react? Because you might be surprised how often people might be like, well, yeah, I know it's not right, but.
Well, also, presumably when you start a career like that, you're young and, you haven't had a lot of time to, develop strange thoughts and theories, because seriously, I think people change over time. And like you said, maybe after 5 years, after 10 years, after 20 years, let's take a look at this person and let's see how they have acted. I mean, you are still followed and regulated, obviously.
Yes.
If there's complaints against you, or,
and I'm sorry, I do have to be insured. And the insurance obviously is asking me, have you ever been convicted? Da, 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 da. And if same thing with therapists, if we get a DUI, trust me, they shame you and they make sure that, they printed it somewhere and all of that. So there are some checks and balances, but I do think that as professions go, and maybe I'm overstating it because I am one, but I think that therapists can really do a tremendous amount of damage. And it's a very, very, you have to have a moral, you have to have this belief that you're there to do no harm. that is always do no harm, always thinking about your client, always doing what's best for them, even if it's not what's best for you or what you want, and so it really drives me nuts when I see these kinds of documentaries where I see therapists doing this, because people have such resistance to it already and so many feelings about therapists and all of that kind of stuff. It's like, God, Jodi, you're not making the rest of us look very good,
Well, she's an outlier.
I know.
She happens to be a licensed therapist, but she would have been doing this she's fucked up. Okay.
Yeah.
She would have been doing this kind of stuff in some way, shape, or form, regardless. Yes,
but the training and the years of doing it help you figure out what you can do. I mean, you can, this is the thing. You can run circles around people. I could run circles around people. I could run circles around Steve. I could manipulate my husband and run circles around him and all this kind of stuff because I know what to think and say and do and all this kind of stuff. It's the choice. And that's what I'm saying. It's like they were given, I mean, I think you're right that Jodi, there was something broken inside of her and all she needed was power and a language for it. And there you go. So.
Yeah. So.
But it is perplexing to kind of like, where do you go from loving and protecting children to believing that what you're doing is helpful? I mean, that's the piece that's really
with like the discipline, the
discipline. I mean,
out of control.
Yeah,
that turns into torture, basically.
Yeah, because this documentary really is about sort of what happens after Ruby Franke's child, this little boy, shows up on a neighbor's doorstep, and I mean, they're out in the middle of Utah, like nowhere, desert, very hot, August. And it looks like these big mega mansions out in the middle of nowhere. And this kid, I guess this was like the third house he had gone to. And this kid, I mean, he had duct tape wrapped around and like saran wrap wrapped around both his wrists and his ankles. He was malnourished. And the little boy asked these people to please call the police or take me to a police station. And so once he was standing far away from them in the beginning, I think once he kind of came closer and they saw what was going on, they were like, wait a second, there's something, this isn't some lost kid. Like there's something more going on here. And that's what started this investigation and started this process. But it does seem like it all happened really quickly. Do you know what I mean? It just feels like it escalated very, very quickly, because how long was Ruby was married at the time, but Jodi's big thing was she always sent the husbands away.
Yeah, the husband left after like a year of knowing them knowing her or something, a year or two. Or he said, well, when the police interviewed him, he said he hadn't seen his kids in a year. So yeah, this unfolds because the kid comes to the door, they call the police show up, the police are shocked. They've never seen anything like this. And then he tells them he has a little sister at home, but he hasn't seen her in a month.
Oh my God.
And so they go into the home, and Jodi's there.
Oh yeah. On the phone with her attorney, which again tells you
how was she tipped off that
no, because the thing is he escaped. She figured out he escaped. She got in her car. She got in her car and started looking for him. It just so happened a police car was driving by, and the police officer played dumb. Like he didn't know what was going on. And he's like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? And she basically said, oh, I'm looking for someone, blah, blah, blah. And I think that the minute she saw that, she turned back around, she went into her house and called her attorney to find out, what do I do now? Which tells you a couple different things. Number one, she knew exactly what she was doing and she knew it was wrong because she was calling an attorney. So that does mean that she's not insane. And what's the other thing too? Was it she knew they were coming and she was starting to shore things up.
Right.
And cleaning up and all of that.
Well, she thought because they show up at the house and they say, we're coming in the house because they know there's another victim in there. And she's like, well, do you have a warrant? And he's like, I don't need one, which is correct. Like, this is what
so if you think someone's in danger. Yeah. Okay.
exigent circumstances. They just were told that by an abused child that he has a sibling in this house that he hasn't seen in a month, but she's in there somewhere and she's probably been abused too. And lo and behold, they go in and they find this little girl like kind of hiding in a closet, or maybe she was locked in the closet.
I think she was locked in it.
Yeah. And so they find the sister and she's in the same condition, malnourished. And I can't remember if she had like the injuries, because it was like they were shackling him or something. And so
they were hog tying him.
They found ropes and chains and they were hog tying him. And so he had and then they would cover up the injuries with saran wrap and some weird concoction and then put the duct tape over it. I mean, it was just disgusting.
Honey and cayenne pepper, which is so weird. I mean, isn't that just making it worse? Cayenne pepper? I mean,
maybe that was the point. Maybe that was part of the torture.
Yeah.
Was putting the pepper on the, open wounds. I don't know what they were doing, but, this was all, I guess under the guise of punishing these children for what, who knows, nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so this is the therapist who's, got these kids in her house, and Ruby, their mother, is living there. And the older two children, I guess, had already just left the family. They were old enough to leave.
Yeah.
But then there were a couple other children.
Yeah. And I didn't quite understand where the middle two. Yeah. Where the middle two kids were.
I don't know. They probably went to go live with relatives, or maybe they were living with their dad. I don't know. I can't remember.
That wasn't really explained too much. But yeah, the whole thing, I think a lot of the parenting stuff started when her oldest child became a teenager and started to rebel like teenagers do. And then it became this push-pull of control. And I can imagine if you're a mom influencer, you're essentially like a stage mom. And so that means you have a lot of control over your child's life, in many different ways. And your child and what they do now has control over your life because they're part of the livelihood. And so that's the thing. Anytime you see this where a child is having to support the family, it creates this weird dynamic of what happens. And I think that this was also part of why Ruby sought Jodi's help, with this was, her son was starting to rebel against.
Yeah. So I found in my notes, it said that Ruby had left St. George with the middle children, took them to a family friend's home. So I think Jodi tipped her off and said, the police are here or something. So she got the middle kids out of there because she had a house in Springfield. Ruby had a house in Springfield. And when the police went there, they found go bags. So yeah, they knew. They there's a lot of, consciousness of guilt there.
Yeah. So one of the other themes that they talked about in this documentary was this idea of, and we touched on this a little bit earlier about the Mormon culture and how can these things come about? Because, and we hear from other people that Jodi treated, other clients of hers, and that there was this theme of that everything's about the family, that pornography is bad and wrong, masturbation, sex outside of marriage, all of these things. And so, there were a lot of it sounded to me like there were a lot of young couples that got married. We all saw this on Mormon Wives. They get married way too fast, way too quick, have these kids, they're in this marriage and the marriage isn't working. And it's, because they didn't really kind of know each other and they didn't have any sexual experience, all of those things. So, but the church kind of doubles down and it's like, stay in the marriage because getting divorced is so shameful. That, there's this drive and desire to fix the marriage. And then Jodi really kind of hooked on to this thing where if men even admitted to watching pornography once, he was addicted. She really started with this addiction thing, and she really honed in on that, that this is an addiction, that so if you just watch it once, you're addicted. And so therefore you need to do all these, you got to do this, you got to do that. And one of the big things was, the men had to leave the marriage and go off by themselves and be apart from each other and just all of this. Now, yes, there's such a thing as sex addiction, and there is a porn addiction, sure. But again, that's not addiction.
Yeah, this didn't rise to the level of addiction because you watched porn a few times.
But I think that this, and I don't know, someone who's LDS could tell me differently, but it's almost this feeling of, I think that it sounds like the church leaders or the people in charge heard, oh, this is an addiction. Great. This can be fixed. This can be solved. So then it becomes, right, homosexuality, which is a whole other thing that Jodi spoke on, that this can be fixed. This can be solved. And again, I think that in these cultures and these religions where there is something that it goes against, quote unquote, like, how do I describe this? It's like, if you think about something like sex, which is very normal and natural, but it goes against a lot of the beliefs and all of that, it's almost like it's this, the leaders are desperate to find, or the people who want to follow this gospel are desperate to find a rhyme or reason for it or a solution for it. And so all you need to do is say, I have the solution to this. I have the solution to everyone's porn addiction, or I have the solution to everybody, or your marriage isn't going well. Oh, he watches porn. Okay, now I have this. No, this is the problem. Because she just prescribed that to everybody. It seemed like every marriage was the same issues, like porn addiction.
Well, she was treating people because she was on a list of approved providers for the church to send people to for quote unquote sex addiction, and to try to save these marriages and these. So she's ensconced in the Mormon religion and the culture, and she just kind of finds her niche here of like, oh, I'm going to tell some guy who I don't know masturbated a couple times. I'm going to tell him like,
oh my God, you're terrible.
What to do to get right with God. But yeah, I mean, they talk about how Mormons are so sexually immature and because of these strict rules, and it just causes so much more problems that, than it's worth. It's like, I mean, I don't know what it's like modern day, but I kind of, like you were saying, like we see these women on TV and it kind of still seems like, not much has changed.
Well, and we saw this on Mormon Wives, right? Like where it comes out in these different ways, where we've got this one husband who's on Tinder, like messaging people, but not really going out on dates. And it turns out that particular person had child sexual abuse in his, childhood. And he, so yeah, it is. It sounds like there's there's obviously just in any community, there's abuse, I think, right? And it sounds like, and also it is revealed that Jodi also was abused. Now, again, no one corroborates this. This is something she wrote in a book. And this is what she said, but a lot of people sort of point to that as being maybe this is what brought all of this on, something that she was abused as a child. And now as an adult, she's seeing, and maybe porn was involved in some way, shape, or form. There was something that was connected to that. And she sees what's happening now. And this is why she reacts in this such a strong way. But again, it wouldn't have thrived in a community where they had a different relationship to sex, because if you had a different relationship to sex, you'd be like, there's nothing wrong with porn or masturbating. Jerking off all day long in front of porn and not going to work. That's a problem. That's an issue. Yeah. And that is a problem there. But come on, people. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if everybody's going to be locked up for porn.
Yeah, well, God help us.
Who would be left? Who would be left?
Yeah.
Dear
well,
God.
They talked about how Jodi went on a mission, which I guess is kind of more rare for women. Mostly
Yeah.
men who go on these missions, and they talk to her, her mission friend, her roommate, whatever she was. So, I think she's always kind of been like this person who almost, evangelical, the way that she's just always been like that. And she's able to get people and manipulate people and get them to, get under her spell, or however you want to
buy into it. But did you get the sense, can I ask you, did you get the sense that that woman who was with Jodi didn't like her?
Yeah, I think she was trying to be diplomatic.
Yeah. But she was like, it's hard to be around someone all day, every day. And then I was like, oh, Jodi was annoyed you.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can see that.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you're around anyone all day, every day, but I just got the sense that she was just kind of like, and this was never anyone I would ever pick to be around all day, every day.
Now, I have written down here, that she got married in 1993, but it ended 3 years later. And then I wrote 2 children. Did she have 2 children? I don't think so. Do you remember that?
No.
Because we never hear about them or see them ever again.
No, we do. So another thing too is which again, it wasn't just the Frankies. The thing is that as we learn, we meet her niece, and her niece lived with her for a year, with Jodi for a year, right? When she was 14 and quote unquote rebelling. And, Jodi was supposed to be there to help her and, obviously abused her and did a lot of the same things that she was later did with the Frankie children. And so that also shows you that this isn't, because I do feel like sometimes people were kind of portraying it as this like build up to this thing. And then she got, and it was like things got out of control, and then she got, she got caught. I think it was a little bit like, no, she's been doing some version of this for a long, long time, much longer than when she met the Frankies.
Right.
I mean, she had been prepping this, and this is something that she had believed, and so that's the other part of it too, is it's hard to know, like, does she have some deep, I mean, she has some deep psychological issues. I'm not disputing that, but is she not mentally sane? Is she, I don't know. That is a big kind of question mark of how do you go from someone who maybe is an influential person, had abuse in your past, to this. You know what I mean? It's just a little bit like, how do you get from point A to point B? It's very strange.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, I mean, that probably would require knowing a lot more than we know about her, because she was able to go through life kind of faking it. And, she's doing all this damage along the way until, she finally gets caught. But, I don't know. I mean, so this is such a strange person and such a strange story. And the way that, she was able to manipulate Ruby, and we were talking about that. I think their relationship eventually became a sexual relationship. And I think maybe, we were also saying it seemed like Jodi may have been her whole life pushing against the fact that she was gay. And that's why she bought into all of these theories, the Mormon theories, and we can't have that. We got to push that away. We got to stop that at all costs. And, like just overreacting to anything that's not what they deem quote unquote normal sexual behavior.
Yeah. Psych Legal Pop. We'll be back after these messages.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it, so your dollar goes a long way. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
So I think this is tied in with her own life experience and her own repressed feelings. And it made her do bad things.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess it's a way for something to manifest itself where if you've been, you're sexually abused as a child, we don't know the circumstances of what happened, but sexually abused as a child. So now, sex is this thing, already it's being suppressed, but now this other thing's happening to you. So how do you make sense of it? And then maybe as she's developing and growing, realizing she has an attraction to women, and then that's bad. And maybe for years and years, it was about her containing her feelings. And then she just got to a point where she started taking those feelings instead of inward and doing outward. And then somehow with religion convinced herself and convinced other people that there was a benefit to all of this. And someone does point this out where often, people who have been abused will take on the role of being an abuse. We see this all the time where they become an abuser, but also they can reenact things. Is part of what Jodi was doing to these little kids, things that were done to her. Is she reenacting this? And then and maybe thinking, see, I have to do these things so that they're not gay, or that they're not, this is the part. And we didn't grow up with a lot of religion and the LDS so a lot of this it's hard to wrap your brain around. But I think that's the other part of it too, is that the way the religion, the culture is created, it's a lot of listening and following instructions from authority figures. And that's the other thing too, is like a therapist is an authority figure. Yeah. So I think that was the other thing too, which is again, why being a therapist, you've got to be really aware of it, because people will listen to you, and you have to be very careful not to take your stuff and project it onto someone else and have them making decisions that you would make.
I'm sure she was raised, she was born in 1969, and raised as 7 children, LDS. I mean, I'm sure things were at that time, very strict, and religion was just hammered away at, and all of this stuff. And that's a very difficult circumstance to grow up in, I mean, any religion, when you do that to kids, because they have first of all, you're telling them what to do, there's no room for them in their own minds to grow or form their own opinions or feelings. And then there's all this shame if you don't do exactly what you're told to do. I mean, we see this, all these documentaries, and it doesn't matter what the religion is. It just messes people up.
Yeah. Well, and also, you're going through puberty and your body is developing and you're having feelings, and then all the time they're telling you, but that's wrong. Those feelings are wrong. Those feelings are bad, but you're being abused over here. I mean,
right, and that's okay.
So, I think my perception of Jodi was this was like a layered, it's like just a fucking trifle, like a layer cake kind of thing. Like it was the abuse and then the LDS and the Mormon. And then maybe she got married and was like, okay. And then realized like, oh God, maybe I'm not straight, maybe I need to do this. And then it's one thing after another until you get to this point. And And there is, I will say, there is, you know, that's the other thing about, I will say about being a therapist is you also have to learn not to get like such a big head and think that you're so amazing and wonderful, because people will thank you deeply, you know, and you've changed my life and you've done this for me and that for me. And you really have to kind of go like, no, you changed your life. I'm just asking you questions. You changed your life. Don't put this on me. But the sense that I get from Jodi was that I think that also helped, like that felt good. Like people were listening to her. She was very powerful. And so the other thing was that at one point she was seeing 46, I think it was like 46 clients a week, which again is very unethical, very unethical. There's also an ethical piece of that too, which is that you have to be together enough to do your work, and that every therapist is different. Some people can handle 6, 7 in a day. Other people can only do 3. The older I get, the less I can do in a day. I will tell you, in my youth, I could do a lot more, but like these days. But yeah, there is something ethical about like, I'm only going to schedule 3 sessions because you have to be fresh for them. It's not fair to your client. 46 is insane. Like that's more than 8 hours a day.
Yeah. Yeah. Even if you worked on the weekends, 7 days a week or something. Yeah, no. I mean, she eventually turned her practice into just,
coaching.
Well, because
she had to.
Yeah, in 2011, she violated HIPAA by she told the church that one of her clients was a sex addict. So she was put on probation. Her license was on probation. I don't know if she ever got off probation, but she just became a life coach. And just kept doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I think she had is this when she started that Connections?
Yes. That's when she had to pivot because she couldn't, which is and I think the guy lost his job or something. I mean, and I'm amazed there aren't more complaints because that is so terrible. And she feels very justified in what she did by revealing this to people. Again, trust, confidentiality, the backbone of therapy. But yeah, she just somewhere along the way, she just started calling herself a life coach. I don't know if she ever got certified, if she did any training for that or figured out what the difference was. But yeah, she just got rid of that one license. And trust me, being a life coach, there's far less restrictions. Having a therapy license, there's a lot of restrictions.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, she just continued with this stuff. And I think she started a podcast. I think that was one of the
videos.
Reasons, one of the reasons I think she was attracted to Ruby was because I think she wanted to learn how to do this influencer stuff, because she didn't know how to do it. But yeah, she's just a scammer. She's just a con artist. And, oh yeah, you mentioned something about her niece. This was towards the end of the documentary. Maybe not really the end, but anyway, so Jodi's niece named Jessie lived with her for a while, and she was abusive to her. And she was saying Jodi is basically obsessed with sex. She accused her of constantly masturbating and said she was addicted to porn. And she tied her up, duct taped her, made her sleep in the snow. And no one would believe Jessie when she would try to, tell someone, because Jodi had kind of built up this reputation in the community as, she's the one who helps all these poor church masturbators, or, try to help them.
Yeah. So, I mean, so she, like the Jessie wasn't allowed to ever lock, shut any doors or have any doors shut because God, the minute the door shut, she would start masturbating.
Right.
Or watching porn. And again, you have to, I mean, maybe it's just too easy to think this, but it's like, you have to believe that this must be a big issue for Jodi. You have to believe.
Right.
Because
She
again,
must have been punished for masturbating in her childhood or something.
or she obsessively masturbates or she obsessively watches porn. But again,
Yeah.
she's counseling all these people. So, I mean, I don't know. It's like, are you counseling people for 8 hours and then going home and watching porn for 8 hours? I mean, it's just, it's bizarre what she fixated on.
I have in my notes here that Jodi wrote a book about how she was abused by boys as a teen. I'm sorry this is so all over the place, but the documentary was kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
It kept kind of going back and forth with Jodi and Ruby. And so there's, these are just, my notes are just chronological. So they're all over the place. But yeah, Chad, this is how they came to. Chad was Kevin and Ruby's second oldest child. Jodi was brought in to help them with Chad. So that's how they hooked up with her. So she was treating the family, but also became friends with them. Then they teamed up professionally. And then 2021, Jodi moved in with her clients. And she had, Jodi and Ruby slept in the same bed.
Yes.
Kevin couldn't go onto the third floor of the house at all. And then Jodi asked Kevin to leave. And so, the question is, was Jodi and Ruby, were they in a relationship? But Jodi was hostile to the LGBTQ community. So that was confusing. So now she's isolating Ruby and she's just, oh God.
Yeah.
And they went back to the house, after all this was discovered, and there was all these journals and Ruby's journals documented everything that they did to the kids.
And it corroborated everything the kid said. Like everything that kid reported, it corroborated it.
Yeah. And they said it was done out of love to drive evil spirits away. That's what Jodi was saying. I mean, the depravity of this is just disgusting. Yeah. And that this Ruby woman, I mean, God, how could you just fall for this?
Well, and so what is your feeling about the husband? Because we did the Andrea Yates story and we talked a lot about Rusty and his being so passive.
Yeah.
Obviously the husband did not know any of this was going on. You can see it when they tell him and reveal to him what's happening. You can see that, he seems obviously genuinely shocked and like, wait, what's happening? He didn't know. But there is also that other part of, you guys were just bebopping along in your lives up until this point. You've had decades of thoughts and feelings and ideas and what you want. And so it only took a year of this woman living with you or 6 months of this woman living with you that convinces you that you're going to move out?
Well, it wasn't his idea. I mean, it sounds like he got kicked out. And when he went to the police, he said, I haven't seen my kids in a year. Okay. Well, why are you doing anything about that? Like, why? Like you just got kicked out and then you just said, oh, I'm not going to see my kids at all. And I think that Jodi probably told him, because you're a chronic masturbator. Right. We have stuff on you.
And you like porn. God forbid, because nobody likes porn. That's such a small industry. Because,
hardly anybody.
Yeah. OnlyFans, come on, dying. I mean, but you're not, that's my question.
You're not concerned.
You're not then going, well, because again, if a couple decided to separate, they still would share the kids. I mean, that's the thing. So that was my point with him. It was like, why didn't you ever ask about your kids? You never talked to them on the phone. You never and so I think that Jodi convinced them that he had to be no contact.
And maybe he was scared of Jodi. I mean, maybe, he lived with her. He witnessed what she was like and what went down. And maybe he was scared of her. Maybe he felt ashamed, but he should.
But why would you then leave your kids there? If you were scared of this woman, would you then leave your kids there?
Right. He should have gone to CPS or DFS, whatever it's called in that state. He should have gone to them and told them, like, I mean, he hasn't done anything wrong. I mean, he doesn't.
But
that we know of. I don't know. Maybe he did do some shady things that he was, and Jodi had something. She must have had something on him, in some way, that he was too scared to report her? Or
I
go to
think
police?
I think that Jodi feels so much shame inside of herself for the abuse, for being gay, all of that, that I think that what she does is she makes other people feel such shame, such horrible shame, that they convince them to do, to believe things that aren't true. And with this shame, you have to be separated. Because again, when that little boy went to that house, he was asking to be driven to the police station, not for help, but they had convinced him that the things that he was doing were enough for him to go to jail. They were telling him, like, these bad things that you're doing, you should be locked up. And I think this little boy had convinced himself, like, there's something deeply wrong.
Yeah.
He deserved it. Take me to the police station. So again, I'm always amazed because these people never come across to me as all that charismatic or interesting, or like, God, why is it not her? Because she seemed kind of like, I didn't think she was that great of a salesperson.
Dynamic, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think she was dynamic or interesting. I don't think that there was anything there. But again, maybe I'm missing the excitement of her. I don't know. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Kevin's story is. I'd like to hear more from him.
Yeah. Well, maybe he'll write a book someday or not. I don't know. I could imagine for him, he must feel such, he just must feel awful.
Yeah.
Because, Kevin, you weren't protecting your kids. I mean, you're being told you can't go to the third floor of your house.
Right.
I mean, that's the part that I'm like,
what's going on there? What's
going on here? That and again, I feel like these things are always slow. They're never quick. If it's fast, people react too quickly. It's slow manipulation. It's, hey, why don't you not go to the third floor between these hours? Hey, can you not go to the floor between these hours? Hey, maybe it'd be best for you to like avoid the floor during the week. And, I think that's what happens is you just kind of keep increasing it to the point where it's like, what, it's probably better for you just not to ever go on the third floor anymore. And so you're there already. So you're going to accept, you've accepted all of these other things.
Right. Well, so they made the two a plea offer where if they pled guilty to 4 of the 6 counts and agreed to prison time on each one, so they both pled. So at the sentencing, Ruby read a statement, which was, sort of remorseful. And Jodi said that she wants the children to heal, but she doesn't take responsibility for any of it. So these 4 counts, they each carry a sentence of 1 to 15 years, and these are consecutive. So they basically
they have to do minimum of 4 years.
Minimum of 4 years, 4 to 30 years per count.
Oh, per count?
Yes, because...
Oh, I thought it was 1 year per count. So then it's 4 years for all 4 counts.
Right. But it could be anywhere from 1 year to 15 years.
Yes.
So basically they're going to be in prison until the Utah Parole Board decides, if ever, that they're going to let them out. So they'll come up for parole every so often. But yeah, so what they said was they're 4 to 30 years at the discretion of the Utah Parole Board, but that doesn't seem right. If it's 4 counts,
that math isn't mathing. Because if it was 1 to 15, then it should be 4 to 60 years.
Yeah, 4 to 60 years, and and they said consecutive, not concurrent.
Yeah,
so that means one after the next.
So
I don't think they're ever going to get out.
I could see Ruby getting out. I think that I don't think either of them are going to get out at 4 years. Trust me, but I think Ruby will end up doing something like close to a decade, and then if she can never take any ownership or responsibility, but I think she will. I feel it seems like the spell was already broken. Who knows? I think somewhere in there, maybe she can come back. It seems like Jodi. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, Ruby called Kevin from jail and said adults don't understand that children can be evil. And she invoked Joseph Smith. I don't know what that had to do with it. But so in jail, she doesn't seem to be in any way remorseful or taking responsibility. And I'll tell you this, you will never, ever, ever be paroled anywhere in this country if you don't take responsibility for what you did. Even if you think you didn't do it, if you want to get out, you better take responsibility for it, because that's the only way.
Yeah.
And so if she takes that attitude, then she will never get out.
So I have faith that she can, not overnight. And I don't think they're going to even, I think it's going to take her some time. But if she does the work, I think she could do it. Jodi, unfortunately, I'm sorry, I hate to say this, is a bit of a lost cause, because the problem is that Jodi now sees herself like a Christ-like figure.
Right.
Right? Because was she reading the Bible? What was she reading? She was talking to some guy on the phone from jail saying she's being persecuted and this is what Jesus went through. And this is what, I mean, it was just like, she thinks she's the second coming of God, of Christ.
I know.
And that this is the universe of the world needs, and she's at peace now with going to prison, because they need her there. They need her there.
She can start her own cult in prison now.
Now, I would like to say something, because, I like to watch my Chomo videos where I hear about what happens to child molesters in prison. And quite frankly, same things over and over again. But often what comes up is what happens to women. And it's I think it's more brutal in a men's prison, but absolutely, you are not liked. You are not. Both Jodi and Ruby, and it's very high profile, I'm sure both of them are having problems. And COs don't care about you. Nobody cares about you. And quite frankly, I'm all about prison reform, but this is one aspect that I'm a little bit like, yeah, that's low on my list of things that I'm going to worry about. I have a lot more concerns that we need to deal with before we deal with that. I don't think it's right, but I'm just saying that.
Well, these people, they pled guilty to doing these things, and there's corroborating evidence. They've got the journals,
lots of it,
testimony of the kids. So this isn't a situation where some young black man is wrongfully imprisoned for some excessive amount of time. This is a different issue. So I don't feel bad.
Yeah.
And these poor children, now you're just now these children have to deal with
it's like
this,
Jodi,
and it's going to affect them for the rest of their lives. And, are we going to break the cycle here?
I know. And that's the awful part. It's like, Jodi, you just wanted someone to help you. You just wanted someone to hear you. You just needed someone to say it's okay to be gay. Be gay.
It's okay to be gay.
Yeah. I mean, and that's all she needed. But now these kids, you're absolutely, I mean, this doesn't mean that they can't go and live happy, healthy lives, but this has destroyed this entire family. Destroyed and destroyed. And we meet other families. We meet other people where they're spending more money on her every month than their mortgage. And again,
and they end up splitting up in the end.
And they end up splitting up.
Help them.
Yeah. And it's worse. One couple said that they thought that if they hadn't gone to Jodi, that there could be something here, but it just got so bad. And I'm sure both of them felt so wounded in their own ways. They were like, we need to be by ourselves. So yeah. It's, I don't know. It's just, if you're going to take on the responsibility of a certain job, you can't do this kind of crap. This irritates me. Making the rest of us look bad.
Yeah. There's bad.
I know. There's lots of bad lawyers.
Doctors, lawyers, accountants, teachers, all of it. So.
One thing I wanted to point out, because when I was doing some research and I found this article here where people were talking about this review of Evil Influencer, the Jodi Hildebrandt story review, Shall We All Vow Not to Watch True Crime, This Twisted in 2026. And it's in The Guardian, but it's really about, have we sort of gotten to the end of this true crime thing that many of these films feel a bit sensational, that we're just, because the reality is that this the formula of Jodi was the same formula of any cult story that we've talked about. It was the same formula, whatever. So are we really learning more? Are we really growing? Have we all said enough about this? That is there more to be said, I guess, because these are the same stories over and over again, and we're just keep watching them over and over again with the same theories over and over again.
Yeah, I don't know. They say that true crime, the reason why women like true crime is because usually the victims, are women. And that women want to know, like, what do I look out for? What signs do I look for? How should I be acting out in public, or what should I do or not do so that I'm not a victim of crime, or I don't fall prey to some scammer, cult leader, or whatever. And so, the story is what the story is. I don't feel like this particular documentary exploited it. They kind of said the bare minimum of what they needed to say about the children and the abuse, and they didn't go into too great a detail. Although I had read something where people were complaining that it was too disturbing to watch. And that's why I was afraid to watch it, because I'd never watched anything about these particular people before. Yeah. And so I was a little bit afraid to watch, but I didn't find it, overly sensationalized. So I don't know. And also it's just the curiosity. We keep learning more and more about the extent of evil is in this world. And I don't know if it's good for our mental state necessarily, but
Not
we're
right
just
now.
People are so curious, and myself included. Like, you hear about something and you're just kind of like, what? Like, you try to make sense of it, and you really can't.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I'm sure there's so many people that interacted with Jodi in some way, shape, or form that had an okay time, like thought she was good, thought she was okay. And I think, we all want to prevent, these things from happening to us. So it seems like, okay, if I know what the signs and symptoms, of them are. And I think that the irony of that is that we, as much as we're watching these shows to learn those things, we're also learning there's really no way to tell.
Right.
There's really no way to tell. That all you can, the way you tell is, and the way you avoid these situations is the minute you see that first red flag, like the minute you see anything, you have to be out of there. That is, and that's very hard because you've fallen in love, or this has happened, or this person's making you happy. And so it's very normal and natural to ignore that first warning, and the second and the third and the fourth. And so, and we see this all the time with people who come out of these cults and things where they're just like, they can't, they don't know how they were fine before, but somehow they got here. So anyway, I just thought that article was kind of interesting. This idea of, are we just telling the same stories over and over again? And maybe
kind of, because it's the same story, just different people, because there's a formula to this.
Yeah.
There's a formula to cults. There's a formula to abuse. So yeah, just same story, different people.
Yeah. All right. Well, I would recommend this myself. I didn't think it was as graphic or as terrible, but I mean, I think that if you're sensitive to this, don't watch it.
Yeah. Obviously, if you're sensitive to any of these
stories
in here, you don't need to see it.
But it is
just fun. I don't know. It's so weird. It's like I think I said to you, it's just like, this was number 1 on Netflix for a few weeks, and it's still, like you said, like number 2 or something. But it's like, I'm always amazed at like how well these documentaries about very disturbing things perform.
Yes.
Like, people want it. People want to see it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're all going to slow down for the car crash. Even if you're shaking your head at people going, oh my God, all those people on the other side of the freeway slowed down for the car crash, and they slowed me down too. We all look. So it's hard to avoid that. part of it. So I hope the Franke kids are getting help. I hope they're safe and happy and somewhere with their dad.
Mm-hmm.
And Jodi and Ruby need to dig in because they're going to be where they are for a long time.
Yeah.
But Jodi's happy about it because she can start her ministry.
It's just a captive audience there.
But again, what I'm saying is I don't know how influential she's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, abusive children is, that is the lowest of the low of the low.
Mm-hmm.
And many of these women have also been abused.
Yeah.
So just like they are in men's prisons. So
Mm-hmm.
anywho, well, thank you so much for joining us there. If you are interested in us and say, I need more of these two, go check out our Patreon where you can get all these shows ad-free, as well as we do weekly bonuses and other things. Go check us out. You can leave us a 5-star rating and review. Those reviews really do helps people find us. You can follow us on social media or tell a friend or spread the word or subscribe. There's lots of different things. Thank you so much for supporting us and being here and for listening. And we will talk to you all next time.
Bye.
This message comes from Jackson. Taxes aren't something you can only think about once a year. With investments, planning for tax day is year-round. Fortunately, Jackson offers tax-efficient products. Visit jackson.com for more information on how our products can make your tax bill a little bit less painful. Jackson is short for Jackson Financial Incorporated, Jackson National Life Insurance Company, Lansing, Michigan, and Jackson National Life Insurance Company of New York, Purchase, New York.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations.
All right, ladies. When you've done the work, you want your hydration to do the same. Introducing new Gatorade Lower Sugar. Now with no artificial flavors, sweeteners, or colors. And 75% less sugar and all the electrolytes of regular Gatorade. Now available nationwide.